You got enough space?
Plenty of room, don't worry.
Jolly good.
Sorry about disturbing your peace.
It's alright.
Shut up.
You'll shut up. You haven't made any noise.
No, shut up.
They're nice ones. I can tell. I might not look like it. I'm not one of the many income drug addicts. I was brought up on a farm,
Right.
and I've even had a zoo for my daughter. And the neurotic dogs down here is quite scary.
Yes.
But I can hear the barks of your... They're sweet. They're well brought up. But a lot of people, seriously, I actually had a zoo for my daughter for many years, and bred champion ferrets.
Yeah.
And many people, particularly after the pandemic, they go into over controlling their dogs,
Yes.
which has done a lot of damage to them.
Definitely.
Yeah, you agree? Oh, good, I can tell you do.
They're lacking, a lot of them are lacking social skills.
Totally. And what they do, I mean, you know, I was actually brought up on a proper sheep farm. You've got to let a dog be a dog. And you've got to let the dog leave a dog at the side and not be the centre of attention. And so many people make their dogs the centre of attention.
People shouldn't have dogs because they don't know how to handle them.
I think it's gone beyond a point where there's no hope. You can't come back from it.
No, absolutely. No.
So what have you got? 3 little scruffy mutties? Hello.
Where they've gone, but
Hello.
there's 7 in total.
7. I hope you get paid for this.
No, they're mine. Well, 4 of them are mine. Right, come on, you lot.
Are they special breeds which you can get thousands for?
Don't know.
They're not worth dog napping.
No. Definitely not. Have a lovely day.
And you said no. Seriously now, I can actually tell your dogs are cool because so many dogs they kind of get all, you know. Your dogs are just chilled out.
Okay. Come on, you.
Righty ho. Now, what was I doing? Okay. Here we are in. Now, this is the most important thing. Now, this is what a true warrior of the environment does. Now, let's try it. Now, unfortunately, this is a little bit of an underclass region, but that's okay. Meaning, now this is actually the path. Already this morning, as soon as I arrived here, I wouldn't normally come to this place, but I've had to go for some cheap supplies. Within 10 minutes, I've already chatted up a Hungarian walking along the path. But then I realised something afterwards. Most of the Europeans that come to Europe, of course they are the more bourgeois consumerist types, those that come to England even for their holidays. I was reminded speaking to this Hungarian. Yeah, chatting up, did I say? Yeah, for passport. I've got so many interviews over the last particularly 5 years chatting up Europeans for their passports. But it's all totally honourable, as in the Polish version of the word sublime, the sublime, Wziowski, of lofty intent. Right, to get to the point. Now this follows on from yesterday. That is there as disguise. That will, why did I turn this on? Oh, I know why I turned this on. So, like 25 years ago, I wrote in my notepad. Now I have always 3 or 4 notepads on the go as I keep like some boring, I mean Homer in his great, actually the Odyssey isn't that good, but I think 5 or 10 times at the beginning of the chapter, and Dawn came along and scrawled her menses covered finger across the horizon. It's good fun, although we didn't have a sense of humour. 50 years old nearly. Is that nearly 50 years old? How old am I? That is bloody, possibly is over 50 years old. Now I do have a posh one in the back that I adopted. I've got a couple, but I don't get them out. I use this one first. Okay, and 25 years old, but the fucking crap you get from Co-op, you see, that goes in my pocket for my special things, my Co-op fountain pen. I mean, everything is good and evil in one, even though I don't believe in the word evil. Co-op fountain pens, £1.77. I bought 3 or 4 of them. They're actually good, but this co-op, you know, there you go, that's what you're up against. And I look after, that is 25 years old. It's still in use. Oh, can't look at that. Right, to the point. Yeah, 25 years ago, I wrote on my notepad in a very sparse office, total minimalist, bookseller, how do we sex up the green movement? And I hate that phrase. I hated it even more then because I was much more of a thorough elitist type. And then 20 years ago, God, it's nearly 20 years. Well, a few years lead up of realising that the lanyardists, all of them, are just in this country, and they're not the same in Europe, evil. But we don't use that word. They're lost. They're stuck believing their own fucking crap that comes out of their mouth. Oh, I forget. What's it called? YouTube picks up if you say fucking. And I don't even use that word very much when I'm speaking with people, so I'm just being whatever. Yeah, so 2002 to 2005, 20 years ago. So this absurd, the number 3 High Court judge in Britain, and the most famous, because the BBC would use him. He was their pet judge. Oh, let's bring on Headley. Now, I should never have gone to see Headley because the lanyardists, they just make money out of you, the whole system. And even then, it's like, I had to drive down. As a single parent, my main money was spent on zillions of animals for the benefit of my daughter, and always taking her away continually. But no, I got to go to the High Court in Cardiff when the judge, about 6 weeks earlier, had said there is just a quite simple, what do you call them now? Custody case. He'd actually said, his exact words were, there's nothing different in this case than any other case that comes over my desk. And he said at the beginning, the great words, everybody, but this is everybody, even what's-his-face, who was in the European Court of Doodah, the boss of Brexit, what was he called? I forget. No, there was an MP who was named in Parliament for being unpleasant to his staff, who were probably, hurty-feely, whatever. I think he had some kind of injunction, yes. So these injunctions are a big deal. He had an injunction whereby a gagging order, the papers couldn't name him. He was named in Parliament by an MP. You can look it up. It just was released yesterday. And he took that MP to the European Court of Human Rights, saying the MP said that the name of the MP concerned, the name of the big businessman, I can't say Peter Green because it might not have been him. It was one of those big knobs. These are a big deal, these injunctions. So 20 years ago, there's me popping to the High Court, where I shouldn't have been anyway, because the judge had said a few weeks earlier, 6 weeks earlier, there's nothing. This case is nothing. Okay, and that's it. So, and the High Court had put a gagging order on me, and I can say this. I'm the one person that can say this, because later on it was found in the appeal court. There's no reason for this gag. That's what they do. But the absurdity. I used to do nice. I mean, I was like petrified, but I used to do nice TV. And once, with the gag on us still, a High Court injunction is a serious matter. It's basically the same as 4 years jail if you break it. Because I used to do little bits of, ITV would come up. They came to our house once. They met us 3 or 4 times. They were lovely. They liked us, and they liked my daughter. But I did a piece to camera just about trying to not throw petrol on the fire of family disputes. And I was good. I never said, you William Beales, who was alive then, he died of slow, painful death in 2010 of cancer. You used a not very bright woman as your petrol when you, William Beales, had seen Dad and Daughter from the year 2000 to the year 2002, you'd seen Dad and Daughter because we used to go to a restaurant, which was a pub called the Blue Boar. I would take my, not drinking, but I would take my daughter once a week at 6 p.m.ish for a socialising meal. The food was all right, hearty, quite big portions because I was on a low budget. William fucking Beals, the owner of the legal firm in Hay-on-Wye, would be sat 2 or 3 tables away, and everybody knew us. Everybody knew that my daughter was a delight. He would see that her behaviour was always brilliant, impeccable. I'd have one of these with colouring books and pencils and stuff, and the owner, Johnny, got to tolerate us because I didn't give tips, couldn't afford them, etc. But William Beals, 2 or 3 tables down, one of the good burgers of that evil place, would see over several years, oh, he's the one that brings his daughter in, like Europeans do. What Europeans do is they take their children out from very young to socialise them. And that fucking cunt, his legal firm, then wrote lies in a courts. So, you know, or rather, they encouraged the other parent to put lies, because they were discovered to be lies, never anything sexy wexy. Anyway, point. An injunction is a really... I never went on television and said, oh, this other parent is behaving badly. I never even named William Beals and his long, slow death in 2010 from cancer, just from where my daughter's pony ended up, which she was stolen away from. Anyway, to the point, because it sounds like I care. It's ancient history. I care about only one thing, which is... So, 25 years ago, I wrote on my notepad, how to sex up the Green movement. Blah, blah, blah. High Court injunction. And in 2025, nearly 20 years ago, I couldn't believe it. Like, other matters dealt with for the benefit of other people. The judge actually said, this is the most famous High Court judge in Britain. He must have been about 55. He actually said, this is the solution that, I mean, I'm paraphrasing, that everybody else should use. Because it's just a lovely peace plan, and it then got printed in the law books, and it never happens, called Jordan's Family Law. It got printed in full, the official judgment. Now, they didn't do the official judgments then. He deliberately made an official judgment that he printed out that included a peace plan. Point being, that would have saved, I'm not joking now, literally millions. Every time a parent went to a mediator, or 2 of them, ideally, the mediator should straight away say, this is called a peace plan, or it was called a parenting agreement. Try and use this. It's been commended by the most famous High Court judge in Britain, who's always on the BBC. His judgment actually says this should, something like this should be commended to others as their solution. And he actually said the words, this is truly remarkable. Me, mainly, and the beautiful Ian Mackay, we spun it up that day in the High Court. But then he left an injunction on me. A gagging order injunction, which a couple of, 6 months later, and he lost his job. People lose their jobs when they meet me. Virtually everybody connected with family law that ever met me lost their job. But I do it subtly. Anyway, I have no interest in that. All I'm interested in is the following. So 20 years ago, pretty much as that began, I began to, because you can't do anything in this world without a few people, just a few, on the same page. They've got to be on the same page. Oh, I know what I should be doing, right? Because there's something that actually makes me happy, and that's why I turn my camera on. Now, I have, see, every 2 weeks I clean this out. Plus, what I do is, you have to take these to bits. I've got a sidekick, and oops, it doesn't matter. Although I'm really her sidekick, because she is as brutal as me. She's older than me, she's tough. She knows we've had it in this society. We've utterly had it. I mean, here is a town of about 20,000 people 2 miles away. And all of these towns, the great majority, still, no, not to the great majority, 97%. I don't go down to this beach here because it's full of power bikes. What are those fucking things that make the noise? You know, I got lots of film of them that I haven't put up yet because they'd run you out of town. You know, this is consumerist central, which is still 95%, if not more, of the real population. So, Greens are actually misanthropic because they don't think of the other 95% who are not going to listen to that pious and earnest Caroline Lucas stressed out act who's got, now I don't make personal, well, the rule must be, even if Megan Down doesn't know it, you must not make personal comments about immutable characteristics. A 63-year-old woman who was meant to be the green icon of the country, who would have her hair dyed every 2 weeks and done up so she looks like a little boy, and let's forget that's a sort of silly comment, but they want to look forever young. Excuse me. I'm going to put some. Because I've been really working hard the last month. The official data shows lots of pollutants go into the sea. I wouldn't trust any data down here, but there's been an official information about the south coast, and blah blah blah. Yeah, to the point. So I should be doing two things at the same time. Yeah, even my sidekick, it's like, oh, I can't multitask. Now if she sees this, she won't mind because I do make jokes about her, but she's great, because that's what you need. What you need in life is somebody on. See, you have to take these to bits, and what I do using my scissor, the end of my scissors, I can't do it, but I can multitask. Oh, I'm too good to multitask. Now if you want to get anything done, no, it's been 20 years. For 20 years since that moment, like, sort of, that became almost like a public, or rather, well, it was about the fifth public moment. You seek people on the same page. That's the starting point. A few people on the same page. I wrote this, the same page. I wrote that about 5 years ago, right? Or 4 years ago. Same page. And then you support each other fully with synergy, moral support. Hey, I've got an idea. But most of them don't even reply to their emails. Then, well, you know, it's just impossible. That's the story. I mean, I go through it over the last 5 years. I've gone through probably 60, 70, 80. And so I'm going to put a few recordings on I've made as a last blast to just nudge a few. I prefer the word groom because it's ironic. I'm being wry because that's all it's become. Oh, you can't say that. Oh, you're actually crossing some line, which into my personal space. You're intruding with your way of being into my smug, fucking, oversensitive, lie. It's a facade. It's more than a facade, because anybody that's come out to live in places like Hay and Wye, the marches, I should imagine down here as well, they've been hard-nosed. They've hurt people to get the money to come here. I knew this years ago. Anyway, their whole thing is just so exhausting, and I've spent so much time. I mean, I literally joke, but it's not a joke. I know I spent 437 hours on that one over 3 years because I thought they really were going to come forward and be on a tandem with you, tangoing to the same dance, blah, blah, blah. And that's why the environment's fucked, because nobody actually does anything. And it's really interesting. So I'm going to put a recording up. I've been really kind of doing a last rollout the last few weeks. And there's a thing from a short news clip where ocean's fucked, there's doggy chemicals in, very toxic ones, there's pharmaceuticals, and I wish, this is what we need more of though. At the end of it, it's like Southern Water say, well, you're going to have to put less down the drains. And that's correct. But that's what Thurgood Sharkey, that's what the Green Party should have been saying for 20 years. It's you with billions, the water companies aren't going to be able to fix the drains quick enough. And anyway, I mean, look at perfect example. In fact, it should almost be a case study. A hamlet or a small town called a large village called Erdisland. I have a little spy in there who's part of the river saving scheme, which will not work because it's all the same ego fighting, posturing, performing. I know this bit of expertise, etc., etc. That population, which is right on the River Arrow, I moved to by the River Arrow 11 years ago, and looking down at the River Arrow, walking the hills, whatever, I would say to myself, oh, well, at least that river's going to be all right, unlike the Wye, which had been ruined by the Prozac piss of all the fakes that had come from London. Okay? And to my horror, I met a chap in 2020, April, May, who lived on it, who'd lived there 40 years, and he was a hunting fisherman and a bit of an aristocrat. He said, no, I've kept stock books. 99% of the life has gone over 40 years. Anyway, to the point. Erdisland, perfect example. 500 people. 501, I think. No, there'll be about 700 by now. But it's a bit more than that. It's because people have been home working, etc. Means there's more time pooing per person. More time, probably double in 20 years, double the amount of pee and poo and household products per person going down domestic drains of Erdisland. It doesn't have a sewer. It's all small domestic systems, some of which will be shared, and they don't get maintained. And so you just have to put less down. And I wasn't going to go on about that. No, because all that matters is, a thrust to make some product. Writing essays, film, and I've been so full power on this as much as I can. If I had money, I'd be able to keep my electricals going longer. So, but nobody cares. Nobody'll put in £5, which wasn't actually what I was going to do. You see, I'm happy. That's the point, because I know, unlike anybody else, I full-time every day wake up, right? What can I try and roll out? But at the same time, I'm multitasking. I don't take anything to heart. I'm multitasking and making sure, now that needs just scraping out. I can't do it with just one hand. With my every month, and doing that, I'm now going to turn this camera off. I'm just sitting here and doing this for 5 minutes will make me feel great. Nothing shared with a public that's not worth a moment of my time. Not because they're mean, but because nothing shared makes you happy if it's all correct. And it's all, like I say, it's 25 years old. But sexing up, putting culture out that's groovy, engaging, and engages what they call normies, in other words, the 95% who they must go shopping to B&M Sports and and this, that and the other, and they've got to have the latest espresso coffee machine, and they've got to go in the ocean covered in chemicals, and they can't go for a walk on the path, even a bloke, without it being smothered in deodorant or other smelly things. I've no idea what they are. No, but I got lots of funnies to come soon.